In the name of Allah, glory be to Him, and there is nothing that does not glorify Him with praise. Peace be upon you, and the mercy of Allah, and upon your companions. My dear truthful brothers, you asked me a question that night. I did not answer it, because discussing matters of faith in the form of debate is not permissible. You spoke in the form of debate. For now, I am writing a very brief answer to your three main questions that form the basis of your debate. My dear brothers, you asked me a question that night. I did not answer it because discussing matters of faith in the form of debate is not permissible. Discussing matters of faith in the form of mutual debate and argument is not permissible. It is not right. You spoke in the form of debate. For now, I am writing a very brief answer to your three main questions that form the basis of your debate. For example, why is debating matters of faith not permissible? For example, there were established facts in science. What is gravity? Is it 9.78? Is this debated? It is not debated. That is, it is now certain, isn't it? That is, certain things are not debated. Now, is the existence of Allah debated? That is, it is certain that He exists. There is nothing to debate about it. If someone doesn't know, you explain it to them and they learn. That is, matters of faith are not debated. There is no aspect to debate. That is why it is not permissible to debate. Also, when there is a debate, for example, two scholars are debating. Those listening will inevitably hear two different things. So one will be right and the other wrong. Consequently, one of them loses their standing. For example, it becomes a debatable topic and the topic gets worn out, and those debating also get worn out. Therefore, it causes harm. So the master does not want to get involved in that. That is, he does not enter into debate. Later, he sends the answer. If he had given it at that moment, it might have taken a debate-like form. You spoke in the form of debate. For now, I am writing a very brief answer to your three main questions that form the basis of your debate. You will find the details in the words whose names the pharmacist effendi wrote. However, the 26th word related to destiny and free will had slipped my mind. I did not tell you about it. Look at that as well. The 26th word related to destiny and free will had slipped my mind. I did not tell you about it. Look at that as well. But do not read it like a newspaper. For example, there is a footnote to the treatise on destiny. Can you give me the words, brother? The footnote says the treatise on destiny has fully resolved the issues related to free will, doesn't it? That is, that part is a footnote. This second topic is the deepest and most difficult secret, the issue of destiny. According to all the verifying scholars, it is the most important and debated issue of the science of Kalam's tenets of faith. The RİSALE-İ Nur has fully resolved it. That is, when this part is read, all the issues become clear. So he says, he refers you there, but do not read it like a newspaper. When reading the RİSALE-İ Nur, especially such delicate parts as destiny, he says, do not read it like a newspaper. How is a newspaper read? What's new? It is read with a glance, isn't it? It is not examined in detail. For example, you read and move on. Whereas the 26th word is not something to be read and passed over. Every sentence should be considered individually. Then one should ponder the meanings there. That is, it is not read like a newspaper. That is true for the entire RİSALE-İ Nur, especially these kinds of places even more so. But do not read it like a newspaper. The secret of my referring the pharmacist effendi to study those words is this. The doubts in such matters arise from the weakness of the pillars of faith. Those words, however, fully prove the pillars of faith. For example, a person asks if Edison, who invented the light bulb, will go to heaven or hell. He did not have faith, but invented the light bulb. Or what will happen to those in America or those in Africa? Such detailed things. Once Haydar Hoja from our Metyu was sitting, and our Yusuf was in his class. Yusuf said, "Let's go there." Anyway, they went back and forth. Then he wrote 100 questions. He said he would ask these 100 questions. The first question was how the existence of Allah is proven. The second was how the existence of the afterlife is proven. The third, and then it went on. Will Edison go to heaven or hell? What will happen to those in Africa? Such detailed things. Then the late Mahmoud Abi was dealing with it. First, they did the opposite. The issue of the existence of Allah was resolved. They read the second one, and it was resolved. Then he said, "I can tear up the paper now. There's no need for the rest." That is, 98 questions were resolved. When the two main issues are fully resolved, all the others are resolved. Here he says the same thing. That is, the doubts in such matters arise from the weakness of the pillars of faith. That is, it comes from the weakness of faith in those pillars of faith. Those words, however, fully prove the pillars of faith. That is, when the focus is on those fundamental principles of faith before answering detailed and specific questions, then if you prove that Allah is just, that He is not unjust, God forbid, that everyone will find exactly what they deserve, what will the person say? They will say that they will go wherever they deserve to go. That is, they will go where they are worthy. I cannot determine that. But they will say that Allah will give everyone what they deserve. It is not my place to say. They will close the matter, for example, like that. That is why the RİSALE-İ Nur emphasizes matters of faith so much,